exception of Tim's, everybody is aging really well. You know, I think we're trying to talk a little bit about what makes this group special. You know, what causes us all these years later to see each other and have it be like yesterday. And I'll tell you that there's a favorite quote I've come to use over the years, and it goes a little bit like this. You know, leadership really is a gift. And it's a gift that's offered by those who are privileged to lead. You got to re-earn the trust of those who are privileged to lead every single day by what you say, what you do, and how you act when nobody's watching. We saw an example of that in Billy and Nancy. And there were so many stories that we wanted to tell. Dawn and I actually had to neck them down, but Dawn's going to join me because this is about Billy and Nancy.
Yeah.
And we have been telling stories at wing commanders courses, group commanders courses, squadron commanders courses, and every one of those times there's a story I tell about Billy Diehl and stories that we tell about Nancy Diehl. And so we want to share with you some of those stories. But a picture is worth 1,000 words. So you have some perks as the chief, and one of these I have is a great PA staff. So I asked them to go back and do a little video on Shah Shabba Dabby, then and now. Here we go.
What's your password? Finger.
Here, for the first time since the U.S. committed itself. For the first time since the U.S. committed itself to the security of Saudi Arabia in the 1940s, an American president has drawn the line in the sand. Has come and gone. The Iraqis are living in what President Bush calls borrowed time. It is no longer whether the war will start, but when.
Logistics nightmare that they look at the events committees. They are fast changing this morning. We're going to take a look at all the fundamentals of the United States against Iraq. It is Iraq against the world.
In my view, a lot of people say we can't do this. It wasn't an option. Can't do it wasn't an option. You've got to succeed. You have to mitigate, you have to work around, you have to study about it, do whatever you need to do to get where you need to be. Because at that time, we weren't sure whether the Iraqis were going to keep coming from Kuwait from right down into the UAE. And that's why we had established that air-to-ground capability to try to give them a bloody nose if they try to keep coming.
And so I told the squadron, get ready. This is hot. And sure enough, we're not told where to go. We were told to launch as a Mideast and be ready to fight the way after. So we loaded up the jets with 4 A-9 missiles and full combat 20 millimeter in the gun, so we could fire with if need be.
The interesting thing is when they deployed, they had no idea where they were going to land. Initially, we thought we'd be based out of Saudi Arabia, but in flight, the Billy Diehl Squadron 17, the first to go, got rerouted into the United Arab Emirates at Al Dawr Air Base, and that was our home for the next 8 to 9 months. We had not been in a large-scale conventional Vietnam. And so we had very few people who had combat experience.
I know how challenging it can be in that environment. They think everything's going to be different. In reality, it's not. If you train hard, it's going to be very much the same routine. Now, the intensity is going to be, don't get me wrong, but the training and the folks you fly with, they'll get you through. The first combat mission is done on pure adrenaline, and it's the Gus Grissom prayer. Oh God, don't let me screw up. It never becomes routine, but it becomes what you're used to.
In any unit I've ever been, the personality of the commander tends to permeate the squad. Our commander, Lieutenant Colonel Billy Diehl, was something special. Billy Diehl was a combination, I think, of George Patton, Robin Olds. From the day we landed, he wore 2 guns, ready to go to war, and he was on work 24 hours a day.
Talk to the JTAC on the ground, before or after a mission. You see him out, you hear him getting shot at. For a lot of guys, this is the first place they've been where you keep him up on the radio, you can hear him breathing hard. You can hear the rifle fire going off in the background, where he's in the MRAP, and you can hear the round bouncing off of it as he's being shot at. You can hear the stress in his voice as like his tempo goes up and the tone of his voice changes. To be able to have the calming sense for that guy, to be able to slow down the pace a little bit, to be sure that we get the bombs exactly where he wants to go. Onto the bad guys at the building, or wherever targets are going after that guy. Looking down at those guys being shot, and then come back and call him on the phone when he gets back to whatever fob he's coming out of, is that a gear, replace it all. He said, hey man, you get back okay? He's like, yeah man, we got back okay, we're all good. That's the most rewarding part here.
No doubt, things have evolved, but some things are always going to be the same. You know, my dad was stationed here at Shaw Air Force Base back then, 363rd Tactical Flight Wing. And you know, the jets were different, but the sights, the sounds, the smells, the energy of the people, all that stuff remains the same. I had the opportunity to walk this flight before I took command and reflect on how similar it really is. But no doubt, the tactics have evolved, the acronyms have expanded. You know, the days of flying at low altitude, rainfall and radar are probably behind us in some ways. The suppression of nuclear defenses has become more and more sophisticated against an ever-evolving, more complicated nuclear air defense systems. But at the heart of those machines, at the heart of those tactics, are still the fighter pilots and great airmen that are using the best of their abilities, the best of their minds, the best weapon systems that we can provide them to get after the mission, bring the fight to our end.
All right. So I'm going to share with you just a few stories that I call, leadership lessons from Billy and Nancy, right? So here would be the first lesson. The commander's got to be reassuring to his younger folks, right? So my first story, how many show of hands were there for Hurricane Hugo? Yes. Okay, all right. So young Captain Goldfein is a brand new wingman, relatively new wingman, and I'm walking out to the airplane. I remember walking out with my helmet bag, and I'm on Billy's wing, and we're flying the right path to save the airplane as Hurricane Hugo is coming in to show our forces. And I'm walking out, and I'm hanging my head, and my squadron commander walks in and goes, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "Well, sir, I'm not feeling really good about this. Dawn's pregnant. We got a little toddler at home. We got a hurricane bearing down on Sumter, and I'm just not thinking I should be leaving right now. And he put his arm around me and he said, listen, Nancy and I, we've been through Hurravax, Himavax, Typhoonavax. Here's what happens. We go on the road, we party, we have a great time. The spouses get together, they party, they have a great time. The wind blows, the kids have a great time. It's just a great time. So I'm thinking, what do I know? I'm a young captain. Okay. Push it up, right? So we're out there on the golf course at right path, playing while the ladies are. The storm's going through, and I remember the next morning when we figured out that the eye of the storm had come through. And only Billy&NancyDiehl, and I'll change some of the words here tonight, right? Only Billy, he looks at it and he goes, holy crap! So a commander's got to be reassuring to his young folks. All right, so I'm going to ask Dawn to come up. And Dawn's got a few Nancy stories that she wants to share.
Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to be here and to be able to share some of the stories that I've told now for almost 20 years to other spouses. Because my mentor never knew that she was actually mentoring me, but you did. So, young captain spouse, Saddam Hussein invades Kuwait on August 2nd. And we had a little back and forth, but I think y'all deployed on August 9th. Yes. August 9th, Nancy suggested that we spouses get the kids and go down to the squadron and bid them farewell. I have, at this point, a toddler and a 4-month-old and a rock and ride, as do many of our spouses in here. So I think Gail was right after Diana was born. Gail gave birth to twins. We had so many babies. I think we had a little baby boom going on in the squadron. Carmel was pregnant at some point after you all deployed. Wait. She was pregnant, he didn't know it. Anyway, we go down to the squadron with our kids to bid the guys farewell. And I think for most of us young spouses, it was the first time that we saw all of you in poopy suits, right? You were getting all suited up to go fly your jets for that historical 17-hour flight across the ocean. You also had a holster strapped to your thigh with a gun in it. And we looked at you with wide eyes and thought, this is for real. And Nancy noticed that we looked paranoid. And she said, and I'm going to change the words, oh, that gun they carry, that just makes them feel more manly. That's exactly what she said. I'll leave it to your imagination as to what she actually said.
That's cute.
It was brilliant. Why? Because she cut the tension. We busted up laughing. And it made her approachable. See, up to this point, as a young captain spouse, Nancy to me was the squadron commander's wife. And I didn't think that we could ever have a conversation, because why would she want to talk to little old glowing me? That's one lesson I learned as a commander's spouse, first and foremost, always be approachable. Thank you, Nancy.
All right, second leadership lesson, you always got to speak truth to your troops. All right, those of us over there at Desert Shield, remember we were actually practicing, devising our tactics. And there was one point where, Ronnie, I think you were telling Agent, you were giving us sort of tactics because of the air-to-air missiles that the Iraqis could shoot at us, whatever. And there was this famous quote that we all remember here, right? Which is when the boss stood up and says, "Hey, listen, don't worry about those guys. They can't get at us. They really don't have. They're not 10 feet tall." And our young intel officer at the time, Tom Rubes, right? Rubes stood up and says, "Sir, you know, they can shoot you in the face." And his only Colonel Diehl, I'll change one word. He said, "Those mother forgers." Always speak truth to your troops.
Another lesson that Nancy taught that sticks with me, and I have shared over the years. We have two spouses that are pregnant when their husbands deploy, and one is Nancy Fleming and then Peggy Fairbanks. And Nancy's pregnancy got a little more complicated, so her hubby had to come home, but Peggy's was textbook perfect, and therefore Jim Banks had to stay back. So Peggy decides to have her child at Shaw and needs two spouses to help her, one to be her coach and the other to be the videographer, so that Jim could then see the birth of their child. Pam Rogers is the coach. Did a great job. Guess who's the videographer? Okay, I stood behind her head, y'all. It was really clean. It was really So it was a long night. Pam did a superb job of coaching. We were able to get the birth so that Jim could see it on video. And last time I talked to Peggy, I understand, Jim, do y'all still have that video? It's a VHS kind of thing. We were there all night long. And when we finished, and Pam and I were leaving the delivery room, who is sitting outside the door? And a fold-up iron, one of those metal folding chairs with her head down, fast asleep. And when we walked out, she popped up and said, "How's our gal? How's the baby?" Nancy. Nancy sat in that chair all night long. And for those of you that don't know, she used to call us her chickadees. And we knew that was an endearing term from her. But more importantly, she walked the walk. She showed us that she cared in the little things that you did. And that was actually a very big thing you did. I don't know what Kimmy Lee was doing. She was in high school. Thank you for another great lesson, Nancy.
Leaders always lead to the point. So Billy's, of course, the mission commander on day one, and I'm his deputy mission commander. And for those of us who are on that mission, you know, we all take the runway. We've been practicing this thing for months, and we're getting ready. It's time for takeoff, and no takeoff. And all we can hear is this squeaking on the radios. And I finally figured out that he was having radio problems. So I keyed the mic and I said, "Boss, I think you have radio problems. If you have radio problems, one long squeal." And he squealed, right? I said, "Okay, I'll take you to the tanker. I'll wait for you. Confirm you're gonna get another jet." Long squeal. He lights the afterburner, heads down, goes up on two wheels to get another jet. We all watch, go to the tanker. And now I'm waiting, thinking, man, is he gonna make it or not? Here we are on the first mission of Desert Storm, and none of us have been in combat but one guy. And that's our squadron commander, who was a backseater for LD in Vietnam. It's about the time when we can't wait anymore, and I key the mic on Victor, and I said, "Hey, boss, you gonna make it?" And I hear this very faint, "Wait for me!" He, by the time he got on the boom, he had about 800 pounds of gas, total, afterburner the whole way. But here's the story that I've told over and over again. Going into combat for the first time was like a walk in the park. So I remember crossing the line, and the first thing we hear from the boss is, "Hey, triple leg, right 2 o'clock." And all of us who had never seen the real triple leg were scared at it. And then the next thing I hear is, SA2 left 10 o'clock. It's like a walk in the park, you know, smoking a lot. Actually, we've seen these telephone poles, and we see a couple of them explode above us. And then the next thing we hear is splash, MiG-29. And those of us that were far enough in front of the formation actually saw the airplane hit the dirt. I remember that moment in my cockpit. In that moment, I remember, you know what? I have actually seen this formation. I've heard these radio calls. I've seen all this. This is actually not new. This is exactly what it was like when we went to Red Flag. Confidence in the air. That, for those of us serving today, is what we owe the young people that are serving, right? That same experience. Confidence in the air. Leaders lead from the point. Billy, you did that for us.
One of the greatest lessons that I think I learned from Nancy, there were many, was actually one of the most difficult times in squadron. And as those of you there, you recall that we lost Diehl Cormier. What I will never forget is what Nancy did. So Nancy was part of the notification team to go to Shelley's house. And at that point, she contacted, when it was appropriate, the flight commander spouses. I was one of them. She called us to tell us the sad news, but they only knew at that point that it was a missing in action, and not what we later learned. She said, Shelley would like for you spouses to come to her house. I don't know how we did it, Nancy, but those of us with small children somehow found a sitter for the kids, made food, and went over to Shelley's house to be with her, to support her. Then Nancy pulled us aside a little later, and those flight command spouses, and said, I think it's time for you to go, and said, let's stay together. And I know I was with Carmel and Gail. I don't remember which house we were at, but it doesn't matter. We did stay together. We followed your advice. And I think many others stayed in little pockets as well. They received the worst news that we could imagine. And then from that point on, Nancy never left Shelley. She was there when she was first notified. She stayed with her. She answered the phone and kept a phone log of people who called in with their sympathies. She made sure that the memorial at Shaw was exactly what Shelley wanted, not what anybody else wanted. She helped with Shelley's pack out because she wanted to go back to Oklahoma. Nancy was there for her. She helped her with the information, all that information that you get at once from the notification team and the others that came in. Nancy stayed by her until she was successfully packed down, and that she was back on her way to Oklahoma. That lesson that I learned by watching Nancy stuck with me for years. And if you'll fast forward to 1999, my husband's now a squadron commander in Aviano, Italy, for the Triple Nickel. And one night on May 2nd, at really early in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, the phone rings. I answer the phone. By the way, the pilots flew all night long during those missions over Kosovo. So Dave's not home. I answer the phone at 5:30 in the morning. It's the wing commander, Fig Leaf, General Diehl, Fig Leaf. He said, Dawn Goldfein, it's good news. Eat soup, that was his wife at the time. And the team will be at your house in 10 minutes. It's good news. Click, he hung up. In 10 minutes, I got dressed. I made coffee, because why wouldn't you? I slicked up the living room. There wasn't a Barbie to be found. And as I was doing that Tasmanian Devil act, the whole time I kept thinking, okay, it's some other spouse's husband. He's okay, he's alive, but something has happened. The team is coming to get me, and I'm going to go to this spouse's house with the team. And I started praying. Dear God, please let me say the right thing. Please give me the wisdom to do the right thing. Dear God, please make me like Nancy. Honest to God's truth. Well, as you know, the story ends quite well. It wasn't another spouse's husband, it was my husband. Best thing I ever saw in my life besides the birth of our 2 children and Peggy's baby was watching Dave walk down the set of stairs on that from the C-130 that brought him home, and he was a muddy mess. But the one person that in that 10 minutes that I reached for, that I drew on, that I wanted to emulate, was Nancy. Nancy, thank you. Today, I tell spouses at the Wing Commanders Conference and others that I share that story with them, and then I say, this is your opportunity to be a Nancy for some young spouse out there. So you are the standard by which